dynamics, phrase to phrase, section to section, that kind of thing. This is where we will often link tone and dynamics together, tone, color, and dynamics together. And as Paul's pointed out, a lot of modern players don't change color as frequently as Segovia, Bream, etc. used to. I would even say Saw and Giuliani and Aguado were changing color, probably just like Segovia did. So that's macro dynamics, and then we have micro dynamics, which are the more subtle nuances where we, crescendos and decrescendos, swells, maybe following the shape of the melody. When the melodies rise, we crescendo with it. This is what Aguado actually said. Bear in mind the shape of the notes, the shape of the melody. So melodies rising and falling, swelling. So basically the dynamics within the dynamics, if that makes sense, yeah? And then you can also sort of combine the two as well. So macro dynamics, you could apply this to a scale. You could practice a scale 5 different ways. I know that we might think of 3 tone colors, Tasto, normal, and Ponticello, but I like to go to 5 because that's what was written down in a method book by Katarina Pratton, who was a very, very prominent guitarist in London. So for pianissimo, you play right at the fretboard. So something like this. For piano, at the sound hole. See how just that move of my hand has changed the color slightly. Mezzo forte at about the rosette, so the sound will be a little bit firmer. Forte about halfway between the bridge and rosette. And then fortissimo near the bridge. That's it. Yeah. So having those 5 gives you sort of specific, not to say that you're always going to play those 5, because obviously there are shades in between, right? I think Aguado actually said there are infinite shades in between dynamics and color. Whenever you have boundaries of dynamics and color, there's shades in between. So, but it gives you a good reference point. It gives you a good kind of starting point to say, I'll use this, and it's something you practice too. So it becomes sort of ingrained in your mechanics, to move the hand according to the dynamics you want. Because it is a bit of a skill, like it takes practice and refinement. So you can all have a try at just playing a scale with these 5 different colors, and you don't even need to actually change the amount of energy too much in your hand. Just by plucking in different places, the dynamics will actually vary a little bit on its own. And then you can put in a bit of extra energy or less energy depending on how much volume you want. But it's actually the quality of the sound that affects, on the guitar, it's the quality of sound that affects our perception of dynamics just about as much as it is the actual variation in volume. Then you can apply macro dynamics to pieces. Many pieces already have these dynamics marked in them. This is Tango and Sky. And so if you did this kind of thing for these with, changing color according to the dynamics, you'll be moving your hand quite a lot. Yeah. Mezzo piano. Forte. Subito piano. Right, so you get this whole different range of sounds. With tango music, we don't have to be too beautiful with it all the time, It's like we can be a bit grungy and gritty. Maybe there. Do you want to try? So maybe that requires playing closer to the bridge. Like you just got to play as close to the bridge until the sound starts to just change. I can't tell you exactly where that is, but you'll hear it. For me, I quite like somewhere around there. That's nice. And then you go to back to the tasto. You want to try that?
Okay.
From the
So
chords, play the
we?
chords, and then gradually getting more tasto. And then, yeah, so you need to move more if you can. Yeah, yeah. That's good. And then, yeah, mezzo forte. So then you could start to move the hand a bit more, a little bit more. But that's more of a micro dynamic, which we'll talk about later. I think that's a very good example of a macro dynamic where it's like this macro dynamics kind of produce like orchestration in the music. You know, it's like one section of where, yeah, it's like one particular texture or instrumentation or something, and then you get this kind of thing where it really stands out like something else, right? And then we come back here. So you'll notice that it takes quite a bit of take a little bit of time to get used to that, right? That movement and this the change of sound and everything, as Paul was talking about, moving the right hand that much can be a bit challenging. So could it work just to try echo, like an echo effect, where the first idea, and then back to loud? Have you considered that way too?
Yeah, that is possible. I probably wouldn't. I know what you mean. It could be that, couldn't it?
I think either way works, and it just demonstrates the different possibilities.
Actually, I quite like it. Actually,
that was quite nice to listen. That worked really effectively.
that's harder. That's definitely harder to be.
Yeah, a bit more the hand. It's really nice that way too, Paul. I think it can work. It could work either way, and this is the beauty of macro dynamics. Sometimes we do have different options that you can explore. Microdynamics only come in two basic forms: crescendo, gradually getting louder, and decrescendo, gradually getting softer. You don't have to change tone colors when using microdynamics. Instead, it's probably better to at first at least try it in with a fixed hand position, so that you're not introducing too many new elements at once. One of the things I find really helpful when it comes to microdynamics, making crescendo and decrescendo, is to think of notes in relation to each other, getting louder or softer. So for example, if we're going to start this scale really soft on the C, I would think of the D being just a tad louder than the C, and the E will be just a tad louder than the D, and so on. And if you do that, by the time you get to the top of the scale, you'll be loud. Play soft and a bit louder. Oops. A bit louder. A bit louder. A bit softer. And so now I'm basically going to nothing, right? Because each note's getting softer and softer. So when you're thinking about crescendos and decrescendos, think that way. I've found it very, very helpful. Yeah, so if crescendos and decrescendos aren't marked into the score, it's a very good idea to just follow the shape of the melody first. So here the melody's going up, and then it's going back down, and the bass is also doing the same thing. So you can get a beautiful shape crescendo, and then a decrescendo in the first 3 bars there, Rob. So you want to think of each note of the melody, and then the bass can help too. Right, so the bass can also kind of guide it, yeah. Well, that was nice. That was nice, Rob. And then we go to the highest point. And then it does that one. Yeah, yeah. Total change. Yes, yeah, beautiful work there, Rob. So, and it's something we can refine and, you know, vary like exactly how much we do. And it's, I think, easier to crescendo than it is to decrescendo. Or it's easier to make crescendos convincing than it is to make decrescendos convincing. So, if you know what I mean. So at the end of, you know, I really like to give, it's almost like the decrescendo is almost an opportunity for a bit of magic or something, you know, at the end of a phrase or section. So if you mark in macro dynamics, let's say that's piano, and microdynamics, look what's starting to already emerge, right? Quite a bit of detail just in the first line. And then you might find yourself, you know, doing some more things like that. You might put like a mezzo forte here or something, and then a decrescendo there, and then here you might put a mezzo forte again, and, you know, change the color. And so it's starting to become Rob Wood's edition, you know. And then Sharif, just quickly here, just to see how this applies. So we talked about macro dynamics from here to there, but now you've got a bit of an advantage, as some of the micro dynamics are written in already. But some of them are not. I think you could actually do more than what's written. For even at the beginning, we've got this tonic chord is A minor, and we get this dominant chord. I feel like that could be a little louder, and then we get a bit of a fancy chord here. The melody kind of rises up, and then it resolves down there. So there could be this overall shape of a sort of a crescendo up to that point, and then a decrescendo to there. And then you can see the melody going up there, so another crescendo. And then they've written the decrescendo there, decrescendo. And then that melody's rising, crescendo. And then that melody's falling, decrescendo. A lot of the times the crescendos and decrescendos are actually based on the shape of the melody, if they're marked in. So do you want to give that a quick go, Sharif? I know that's a lot of information now. If you combine, this is a good example of a combination of macro and micro dynamics. So you want to play piano, find that color, but also be grading the volume up and down.
Okay.
Based on the melody. Maybe could you start more tasto, please? Maybe like at the fretboard. And you might need to start softer to give yourself a bit of room to grow.
Is that good here?
Yeah. Yep. Or, and then it comes down. Try to make that decrescendo. As I said before, it's like an opportunity for a bit of magic. Tender, you know, tenderness and sensitivity is at that moment. And then crescendo, and then decrescendo. Yeah. And then this one could probably crescendo a little bit too. It's rising. and then the color change. Yeah, color change, and then back. Right.
Color change.
Back to. That's beautiful. Great job there. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you see how much detail there is in that in the first, 8 bars. There's a lot
Wow,
to think about.
that's different.
But it
That
totally
sounds
brings the
different.
music to life at every moment, every phrase, every note of the melody, every harmony starts to be shaped in some way. This would be an interesting one, Paul, even at the beginning here. So that the echo idea worked really well, but even within each 2-bar little segment, there could be some opportunity for a little bit of microdynamics. And there's maybe different options. So if you play the first, let's say you do the first one forte, because it's going to the dominant chord there. So typically that's a bit of a crescendo, and then it could decrescendo, or it could just it could just build up and then you go suddenly soft. I don't know if it works too, but there is this kind of resolution. It could be something to try. If you did a decrescendo there, it could be something worth trying just to see what the effect is.
It's like a transition into.
That's quite nice, actually, too. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That's really nice, Paul. Yeah, that's great.